We are all equally excited about this particular topic always. This is a main confusion which is present across all the employees in India, like how to save our taxes. Because as and when our salary keeps increasing, the amount of like money which will go out in the form of taxes are way too high. Now, in this particular webinar, the main problem which we are trying to address over here is first educating the employees with respect to their salary. First of all, what are all the components which will be present in the salary? How should we understand them? This is our first part of the webinar. And the second part of the webinar with respect to the tax planning and all. So that is the reason why we divided this entire session into 4 topics. First one, very basics. Maybe many of you might know these things already, but just to bring all of us onto the same path, we are repeating them again. Basics of salary and basics of taxation. The second part, ideal salary structure. Yes, ideal salary structure. Many of you have already asked this particular question in the Google form shared. So ideal salary structure is what we will discuss, and then deductions relating to the salary structure. Then the third part is investment based deductions. Only if you make investment into those things, then only you will be eligible to claim those deductions. The fourth part is questions and answers. Like it will be an open forum where you can ask any questions. But throughout the webinar, we will try covering all the questions which you have submitted through that Google form to us. One very important thing which I wanted to highlight before starting the webinar itself, by seeing the title, people assumed we will be suggesting some illegal options to save the taxes. Hidden options for saving income tax is what we titled this webinar, right? By seeing the title, many people assumed like we will be like suggesting some illegal options. But let me say you, this is absolutely legal. I mean, whatever the options which we're going to discuss are completely within the ambit of income tax. We are not going to discuss anything illegal. Number 2, the second part which I wanted to clarify is this webinar is mainly intended for employees, not for employers. Employers can follow this, but however, this is mainly intended for employees, and we will discuss completely everything with the perspective of an employee, but not as of an employer. So let us quickly start this. The first thing, why should we understand about income tax, or why should we understand about salary, or why should we understand about investment, why should we understand about planning? I think this particular quotation, start early, drive slowly and reach safely, probably you might have found it in roadside banners and all where they educate us about the driving safety, but this is equally important for our salary and investment planning as well. The reason is this particular slide. You can see this slide. This slide explains the power of compounding. Let's assume there was a person A who is usually depositing his money in fixed deposit. There is a person B who is usually depositing his money in public provident fund. There is a person C who is usually depositing his money in mutual funds. Now, each one of them are depositing 15,000 rupees every month. And usually the rate of return for fixed deposit is 5% per year. And in fact, lesser than that in most of the cases. For PPF, it is around 8%, 8.25%. But for mutual fund, again, subject to market risk, but approximately 13 to 14% is the return for mutual funds. Now, if these people have invested this particular 15,000 rupees every month for 25 years, then the amount of money at the time of maturity will be 89 lakhs for the person who invested in fixed deposit, will be 1.43 crores for the person who invested in PPF, will be 4 crores 9 lakhs for the person who invested in mutual funds. Why I am highlighting this is, most of the times, 99% of the employees in India, the biggest mistake which they commit is, for them, investment is just for the sake of tax planning. It is purely for the sake of tax planning. And if my employer is asking to submit the documents tomorrow, I'll plan for obtaining those documents today, which is absolutely wrong. We should plan for our taxes right from the beginning of the year or at the time of taking up the job itself, but not at the time when HR is requesting for the documents. In the last moment, we will finally choose some option which is available online to make some deposit and then get it done. And then we will end up into that particular loop. I mean, we will not be able to create wealth, or we will not be able to generate wealth if we choose that particular options. So always remember, creating wealth is equally important as tax saving. So throughout this webinar, I'll discuss with that particular intention. In this slide, I'll spend not more than 5 minutes just to explain the basics of income tax. See, the first thing which we need to understand in income tax is financial year. Usually, for all our purposes, we follow something called as calendar year. Our new year starts on January 1st and the year ends on December 31st. But for taxation purpose, always year starts from April. Always year starts from April 1st and ends by March. So for example, if you take this particular financial year, this we call it as financial year 2021 and 2022. It starts from April 21 and March 2022. Let's assume I'm an employee who received increment in the month of January 2021. Now, for me, that will be effective. I mean, for me, I need not consider the January 2021 salary while planning my taxes and all. I should start considering my salary only from April 2021. Financial year, the concept of financial year is very, very important when you are planning for your taxes and investment. The second one, this term, most of us find it in the offer letters. Mainly, we find it in the offer letters. Cost to company or CTC. Like this is the most misunderstood term. We always assume CTC is the salary which I'll receive into my bank account every month. That is absolutely wrong. So let's assume a person was there with approximately CTC of 18 lakhs. 18 lakhs CTC means I should receive ideally 1.5 lakhs into my bank account every month, which is wrong. I mean, that assumption is wrong because in India, there are various deductions and various statutory regulations which need to be adhered by the employer, and only then he can make the payment of salary. If you see cost to company, I mean C2C means the total salary, I mean the total amount of money or the total amount of cost which is being incurred by the employer is usually called as CTC. And to calculate CTC, this is how people usually do. CTC includes gross salary, employer's PF and ESI contribution, and if you are promised some ESOPs, those ESOPs plus any NPS contribution promised by the employer, all these things will together form part of CTC. CTC is not the money which you're going to receive into your bank account. The same way, gross salary. From CTC, after these deductions, we will get into gross salary. Gross salary is something which is taxable salary. I mean, gross salary is the one which we will use for all income tax calculation purposes. Then the next one is take home or net salary. From the gross salary, again, we will make certain amount of deductions and we will get into the net salary. For better understanding, let me get into this particular slide. So, for example, I'm assuming an employee is with cost to company of 8 lakhs, CTC of 8 lakhs. This is what is promised in his offer letter, and he is dreaming to get 1.5 lakhs into his bank account every month, which is absolutely not possible. We'll see why. Because from CTC, we need to reduce employer's PF and ESI, which is approximately 1,800 per month. And if your salary is more than 21,000 rupees per month, ESI is not applicable. So that way I have assumed it as 21,600. And gratuity, most companies, sometimes they will deduct this, sometimes they won't deduct this, but I have assumed gratuity of 50,000. Employee stock options. Yes, again, depending on the company, they might have promised you some stock options. They might not have promised you some stock options. So depending on that, they'll deduct the stock options value as well. And finally, this is your gross salary. Out of 18 lakhs, after all these deductions, you'll get your gross salary. From this gross salary, again, this gross salary is not given to your home. Again, from this gross salary, we need to deduct these three things mainly. I'm really sorry. Employee PF and ESI, professional tax, TDS or income tax. We need to deduct these three components, and that is when we will get into the take-home salary. This is the one which we will receive into our bank account. So if I divide it by 12, approximately take-home per month will be 1 lakh. With my assumptions on this slide, a person receiving 18 lakhs of salary will have just 12 lakhs of take-home, which means instead of 1.5 lakh CTC per month, his take-home is just 1.02 lakhs or around 1 lakh. So this is what we need to understand. Most of the times we will get confused on by seeing our offer letter and by seeing our payslip. Offer letter doesn't match with the payslip is what we feel, but actually there is a lot of calculation behind it. Very importantly, what we need to remember is another mistake people do is they'll start calculating the tax planning and all by taking the take-home salary. They'll take their bank statement. Array, I am receiving 1 lakh every month, multiply it by 12, which is 12 lakhs. I'll start planning my tax for 12 lakhs, which is also absolutely wrong. You should plan your tax on this gross salary. Gross salary is the one which you should consider for planning your taxes and all. In your payslip, in 99.99% of the payslips, there will be two tables, I mean, two divisions. One side, there will be breakup of gross salary, and on the other side, there will be like deductions and all. The one which you should consider for your taxation purpose is the left side salary. The gross salary is the one which you need to consider for all your tax calculation purposes. Don't worry, we will share this presentation after this particular seminar. So you can go through this once again for your comfort. Then some important due dates which everybody should remember, especially as an employee. It is my responsibility to know all these due dates. These due dates would have been explained somewhere in the HR policy of the company, but nobody bothers to read those big policies and all. So that is the reason why I am summarizing those important due dates over here. In the beginning of every year, employer will ask you to provide the projections. Okay, at the beginning of every year, April 2021, let's assume for this financial year, April 2021, employer will ask you to give your planned investments, to give your planned deductions. By taking those planned investments and planned deductions, because you will do the investments and deductions throughout the year. So just by taking the declaration from you, he will calculate the tax and he will start deducting it month on month. He'll start deducting it every month. This is what will happen in April in every company. Now, somewhere around December or Jan, somewhere around December 2021 or Jan 2022, what companies will do is they will ask for the proof. Here you have given the projections, right? That this is what I'll do. I'll go and invest in LIC. I'll go and pay my school fees. All these things is what you would have declared. For those declarations, proofs will be collected somewhere in the month of December or January. And again, employer will recompute the tax based on the actual proofs, and he'll start deducting the TDS accordingly for the next 2 to 3 months. And after the completion of year, which means from April to March, year will get completed. After the completion of year, after 2 months, ideally by June end, employer will provide you Form 16. Form 16 is nothing but a document which summarizes your 12 months salary, your declarations which you have provided to the employer, your tax calculation, TDS deducted, everything will be summarized in the form of Form 16. By using this Form 16, ideally before July, before the end of July, you need to file your income tax return. So this is the process which every employee should follow. April, provide declarations. December, provide your proofs for declarations which you have provided. By the June, receive Form 16 from the employer. And by the end of July, you should ideally file your income tax return. However, because of pandemic, every due date is extended. Even for providing Form 16, due date is extended to July 15. At the same time, for filing the income tax return, due date is extended to September 30th, 2021. For the last year, ideally, you should file it by September 30th, 2021. These are some due dates which you should remember. Very common question which everybody keeps asking: what is the ideal salary structure? What is the best salary structure for saving the maximum amount of tax possible? Again, I will say you, one size doesn't fit all. This principle is applicable over here. One salary structure is not suitable for everybody. Depending on your like amount of salary and the type of investments you made and the age, very importantly, age, the salary structure will differ. The ideal salary structure will differ. But however, 90% of the times, this will be suitable. The salary structure which I am showing in this slide, which will be suitable 90% of the times, where you will take your gross salary as the basis. I told you the difference between CTC and gross salary. From CTC, you need to provide some deductions for statutory purposes. Then you will arrive at your gross salary. That gross salary needs to be divided in this particular percentage. I mean, it needs to be divided according to this percentages. Basic pay can be 50% of your gross. House rent allowance can be 25% of your gross. Leave travel allowance can be approximately 10% of your gross, and other allowances. There are various allowances under income tax, right? All those allowances can be 15% of your tax, 15% of your gross pay. So this is the ideal structure, but this is not a rule. In this, only one statutory norm is there. You should ensure basic pay is minimum 50%. This is the only rule which is present under the law, under various laws, PF, ESI, or like income tax purpose, benefits for claiming the benefits under income tax purpose. Only that's the only norm. Rest of all the percentages are flexible. You can change it as per your need. Rest of all the percentages are flexible, but ideally, company will decide one salary structure and it will implement for all the employees. It will not provide you different structures for different persons. It is not possible. It is absolutely not possible. Only option for you is with respect to this flexible pay. most of the companies, 80% of the companies or 90% of the companies usually provide flexible pay where employee can choose what kind of alliance does he need, what kind of, I mean, instead of calling it like, a specific alliance or other alliance, employer will provide options to you. Okay, you choose whether you want to call it as NPS or you want to call it as food coupons or you want to call it as medical reimbursement. You choose whatever you wish, and based on that, employer will provide this particular structure. So as an employee, for me, 50 plus 25 plus 10 are fixed percentages, which means approximately 85% of my salary is fixed by the employer itself. And most of the times, they will provide me flexibility for this 15% of the salary. Okay, you choose your options. And sometimes most of the companies, they might not do it as well. They themselves will fix the salary structure and they'll ask everybody to follow it. So this flexible pay, whenever I call it as flexible pay, these can be the options usually provided by the employers. Food coupons, telephone reimbursement, car allowance, books and periodicals, reimbursement, options to choose NPS. We'll discuss one by one in detail. But for now, I'm saying you, this is usually a sample ideal salary structure. So which you can set up for your company or you can recommend your HR to set up in your company. Now, based on this structure, what are the deductions I can claim under income tax? What are the various deductions I'll be eligible for claiming under income tax? Number one, standard deduction. This standard deduction is eligible irrespective of your amount of salary or nature of your salary. Standard deduction of 50,000 rupees is available for everybody. And there is some amount of deduction which will be provided if you are staying in a rental house. So deduction for rent amount being paid. For example, let's assume I am an employee, I am staying in a rental house, I am paying 15,000 rupees every month as rent. If I show this proof to the employer will do some HRA calculation. I mean, there is some amount of calculation involved in the backend, which I don't think it is too technical. I'll provide you the calculator link. You can enter your details over there and see how much is the amount of exemption over there. Deduction for rent amount being paid. And out of the flexi pay, if you have chosen meal coupons, out of the flexi pay, if you have chosen meal coupons, then 3,000 rupees per month will be provided as a deduction. While calculating income tax, 3,000 rupees deduction will be provided. So let's assume my annual salary, gross salary is 12 lakhs. This 50,000 is gone. HRA, let's assume 1 lakh is gone. Then another 3,000 rupees per month, which means 36,000 rupees per year is gone. Meal coupons. But for availing this meal coupons, if employer transfers it in the form of cash into your bank account, it is not, it is not eligible for income tax deduction. You should get it in the form of some voucher. Let it be like Paytm voucher or let it be like Sodexo voucher. You can get it in the form of a voucher. Only then this particular deduction is eligible. Sorry for it. Then leave travel allowance. Leave travel allowance is something where, like I'll say the employee, I have to provide proofs to the employer saying, I traveled along with my family somewhere in India. You should travel somewhere in India for sure for availing this deduction. And for that particular travel, you can claim travel related expenditure. So let's assume I visited Kashmir recently. So for visiting Kashmir, I have incurred a travel expense of 20,000 rupees on me and my family together. That 20,000 I'm eligible to claim as a deduction under income tax. Then the fifth one is telephone reimbursement, books and periodicals reimbursement, car maintenance allowance, and gift vouchers. Let me explain this over here. If you see here, I have used reimbursement sometimes and I have used alliance sometimes. See, there is a big difference between reimbursement and alliance. Reimbursement means to claim the deduction, you should provide proof to the employer. For example, there is a telephone reimbursement, which means to claim the deduction, to claim that whatever the amount of deduction, I should provide my proof to the employer. What we do usually in Vakil Search is we fix 1,500 rupees for every employee every month as telephone allowance. And we ask our employees to submit the proofs. Usually, they usually pay for internet as well as they usually pay for their mobile phone. They will submit those bills as a proof. Then we will provide them tax deduction. If employee fails to submit those proofs, then that amount becomes taxable. Whatever the component which is lying as telephone allowance, that becomes taxable. In the same way, books and periodicals as well. So let's assume, most of the times we keep spending some amount of money in updating our knowledge or like by taking up additional courses and all, right? That money you can claim it from the employer. If it is actually for the sake of company's growth and all, you can claim it from the employer and say that, that particular amount of money will become non-taxable. So what I'm trying to conclude over here is out of these options, out of this salary structure, this flexible pay, this flexi pay, people call it as flexi pay or flexible pay. Flexi Pay, you can choose multiple options. Depend if your company provides these options, you can choose multiple options from them. Either you can choose for food coupons, you can choose for telephone reimbursement, you can choose for car allowance as well. Car allowance, depending on the nature of car and the purpose for which you are using, approximately 1,800 rupees per month will be your deduction. And books and periodicals, actual basis. And there is something called as NPS, which I'll explain in the upcoming slides. So you can choose this Flexi Pay and you can avail those deductions. So these are structure-based deductions. If you need to avail these deductions, definitely employer should have structured your salary accordingly. If employer has not provided those options, we cannot do anything. We will not be able to claim these deductions. So the deductions which are appearing in this slide, you definitely need some amount of help from your employer to claim these deductions. But let us come to the next one. Whatever the deductions from now onwards for approximately next 15 minutes, we will see certain deductions. Here, irrespective of your salary structure, whatever might be your salary structure, irrespective of your salary structure, you can claim these deductions. Number one, housing loan. Very popular deduction in India, housing loan. Most of the people, usually they take up the employment with the dream of constructing their dream house. So for that reason, if you avail housing loan, you can claim deduction under various sections in income tax. I have summarized those sections over here. Whenever you are paying interest on the housing loan, you can claim up to 2 lakhs per annum. And whenever you are repaying principal or stamp duty, you can claim up to 1.5 lakhs. Housing loan principal, for example, let's assume I took a loan for 40 lakhs. Approximately housing loan interest is somewhere around 8% to 10%. So let's assume 10%. 4 lakhs is my interest. I'm paying 4 lakhs interest in the first year, but as a deduction maximum what I can avail is only 2 lakhs. What I can avail is only 2 lakhs. And if I have repaid any principal amount to the extent of 1.5 lakhs, I can avail that particular principal deduction as well. Then apart from that, if the loan is taken very recently, which means either in the last year or in the current year, you will get additional 1.5 lakhs deduction. I mean, this is an additional section which is introduced by the finance ministry to encourage the people who purchase the homes and all. So you will get additional deduction of 1.5 lakhs towards your interest. So I told my example, right? I availed 40 lakhs of housing loan. Out of that 40 lakhs, let's say 10% is the interest rate. So I paid 4 lakhs as interest in this year. Out of that 4 lakhs, I can claim 2 lakhs under one section. And apart from that, 1.5 lakhs under one section. So in total, I can claim 3.5 lakhs towards interest, balance 50,000. It will be carried forward to the next year. We cannot claim it in the current year. Then at the same time, principal. If I have repaid the housing loan principal can also be claimed as a deduction. Then if you have taken joint loan, this is also very common problem in India. People most of the times buy the property in there along with their spouse. In those cases, if you have taken joint loan, the limits which are displayed on this slide will be applicable for you individually. I'll have, as a husband, I'll have 2.5 lakhs plus 1.5 lakhs. As a wife will have 2.5 lakhs plus 1.5 lakhs of limit. And we will divide the interest paid between two people and we will take the deduction. Overall total deduction should not exceed the total interest paid, but we can divide and then claim those deductions. This is for the benefit of, I mean, like if you have taken housing loan, then at the time these benefits are eligible for you, available for you. Then other than that, under section 80C, this is the most popular section in India, where people plan their investments under this particular section. You can claim deduction up to 1.5 lakhs by investing in these various options which are shown in this slide. I divided all the options into 4 categories. First category, this is not something which we are specifically doing for the tax sake. Irrespective of whether income tax is there or not, we will ideally incur this expenditure. For example, child education expenses. Whether income tax is there or not, I should definitely incur this expense. So anything which I paid for my child education, I can claim it as a deduction to the extent of 1.5 lakhs. Then second, provident fund contributed by the employee. Whatever the amount which you are contributing for the PF, that PF contribution can also be claimed as a deduction to the maximum extent of 1.5 lakhs. The second option, these are risk-free options. You need to make some additional investment for claiming this. These are risk-free options. Not too much amount of risk is involved over here. Look at these options. One is fixed deposit, post office deposit, public provident fund, life insurance premium, national savings certificate, Sukanya Samruddhi Yojana. So these are some options which are risk-free options. These are not subject to the market risk. You can consider investing in them and claim up to 1.5 lakhs of deduction. Then there is third one. These are subject to market risks. Equity linked mutual funds. You can invest the money in mutual funds and you can save up to 1.5 lakhs. These are again subject to the market risk. The fourth one, I already told you, up to the extent of 1.5 lakhs. I already explained in this slide. To the extent of 1.5 lakhs, you can claim the principal amount. The principal is again included under this ATC itself. The principal amount will come under this limit of ATC. If you are repaying the housing loan principal, or if you are paying some stamp duty on construction of house property, you can claim this particular deduction. Now let's move on. This is one point why I wanted to, why we wanted to conduct this particular webinar. National Pension Scheme. Of late, we started receiving so many inquiries or so many questions about this particular scheme. We wanted to cover through it. And if you have not heard before, this is the right time for you to consider this particular option. Please, consider and then investing in this option. The scheme is launched by the government of India somewhere in 2011. From there, it has gained its popularity over a period of time. From the last 2 years to 3 years, this has become very popular because they started offering the tax benefits for it. I'll say you what are the tax benefits. First tax benefit, you can speak to your banker and open the NPS account. If you contribute 50,000 rupees into that NPS account, that 50,000 will be eligible for your deduction. So usually under ATC, 1,50,000 was the limit, right? The total deduction which was available under ATC, section ATC was 1,50,000 rupees. Now, apart from these options, if you consider investing in NPS scheme, National Pension System Scheme, if you invest in NPS, you can claim deduction up to 50,000 rupees per year. This is the first benefit under NPS. Now, government went one step ahead and it said it encouraged people to contribute a lot into NPS. So what it said is you can request your employer to deposit some amount of money on behalf of you. We will provide deduction for that as well. So now let me say you, in my case, I'm an employee of Vakil Search. On my own, I deposit 50,000 rupees into NPS scheme. So I am eligible for the deduction. Apart from that, I requested Vakil Search. I requested my employer, HR team, to contribute some amount of NPS on behalf of me. So for example, they are contributing 10% of my basic pay. Let's assume my salary is 10 lakhs. Out of the 10 lakhs, basic pay, as per our ideal tax structure, my basic pay is 50% of it, right? Which means 50,000, 5 lakhs, of which 10%, which means 50,000 is being contributed by Vakil Search, which means I am contributing myself 50,000. On behalf of me, my employer is contributing another 50,000. I can avail total deduction of 1 lakh in a year. So this is one particular benefit under National Pension Scheme. But then if that is the case, everybody can opt for this, right? I mean, but there are so many demerits under this scheme as well. The very first demerit is you can invest into this scheme only when you are within this age bracket. Apart from that, lock-in period is up to 60 years of your age. Once you deposit some amount of money into NPS scheme, you can withdraw that money only after your 60 years of age. Till your 60 years of age, you cannot withdraw any amount of money from the NPS. However, government thought if this is the condition, people will not be willing to invest. So for that reason, government said, okay, no problem. Let us do this way. You join into the NPS scheme this year, 2021. I'm joining into NPS. I didn't like it. I contributed for 5 months, 6 months, but I didn't like it. They are not managing the funds properly. I didn't like it. Then I can exit within 3 years of time. Within 3 years, you can take out the entire money you invested and you can exit. But once 3 years are crossed, you cannot withdraw that money till 60 years of your age. So that is a kind of demerit under this particular scheme. But within the 60 years, you can withdraw amount for some conditions to the extent of 25% for certain criteria. Like if you are getting married, or if your children are getting married, or if your children are pursuing the higher education, or some critical medical treatment is required for you. In those cases alone, you can withdraw some amount of money over there. The very important feature of this scheme is you can choose to which class of segment we need to invest this money into. For example, I told in my case, right, I'm investing 1 lakh into NPS scheme, 50,000 from my side, 50,000 from Vakil Search side. I'm investing totally 1 lakh over here. If I'm investing 1 lakh, I can inform my banker. Usually most of these options are being provided by the bankers only. I can inform my banker, out of this 1 lakh, invest 30% into equity, 40% into debt, 50% into government bonds, something of that nature. I can define the percentages over there. And investment choice is available for us. And cost of managing, I mean, the fees which they deduct is very, very low for NPS when compared to the mutual fund, and it can be opened online. So this NPS account is very, very less known. I mean, people are not aware of it, and many companies don't provide this option for one main reason. It's a huge administrative task. It's a very huge administrative task. The reason being, as an employee, I should go to the bank and obtain something called as PRAN number, permanent retirement account number or something like that. PRAN number. Again, employer should obtain some particular number, I mean SIN number or something like that. And then employer has to file return every month. Employee has to keep tracking his investments and decide the allocation percentages and all every year. So all this is administrative difficulty. So for that reason, many companies are not offering it. But however, this option can be considered for sure for saving your income tax. Now another option, medical insurance premium. Because of pandemic, I guess it has become mandatory now to have a medical insurance for everybody. If you are contributing the medical insurance, only then this particular deductions are eligible. I mean, can be availed. If your employer is contributing, as a part of group policy, you are not eligible to claim the deduction. Only if you are contributing the premium, then only you can claim these deductions. These are the limits. If you are individual below 60 years of age, then at the time 25,000 rupees for you and your children, and for your parents additional 25,000. So the slide is self-explanatory. These are the limits for medical insurance premium. If you are a senior citizen, either you or your parents are senior citizens, you will get additional 25,000 rupees limit you can invest, because usually medical insurance premium for senior citizens will be a little higher. So for that reason, they provided the additional limit over here. Medical insurance premium also can be considered for investment. So to summarize, what are all the various options we have seen? The first option which we have seen is housing loan. I mean, based on salary structure, food coupons, car allowance reduction, books and periodicals, telephone reimbursement. These are the first initial options which we saw. Second, we saw housing loan related deductions. 2 lakhs for house property, interest being paid, 1.5 lakhs for principal, additional 1.5 lakhs for interest. And if it is a joint loan, we can avail it half off. Then third, we saw deductions available under ATC, risky deductions, riskless deductions, and some certain deductions which we need to pay irrespective of our income tax. Based on that, you can avail. Very, very importantly, through this webinar, you got to know one new option, NPS. If I invest 50,000 from my side, that is eligible for reduction. Apart from that, I can ask my employer to invest 10% of my basic pay, maximum 10% of my basic pay into the NPS scheme. That is also available for complete deduction under income tax. Then the fifth one, which we saw, is medical insurance premium. You can pay medical insurance premium either for you or your spouse or your children or your parents and claim deduction according to these limits. So that is medical insurance. Few other options, just I am summarizing. These are less popular, but still they're available. Number one, if you have availed any education loan when you were studying, the interest paid on that education loan can be taken as a deduction. And if you have taken loan, this is one new option which is introduced. Probably you can consider it because petrol prices are increasing day by day. If you have availed loan for purchasing the electricity vehicle, interest paid on such loan is available for deduction. So this is one option which you can consider. Then donations given to the charitable institutions or political parties. Recognized charitable institutions and recognized political parties, that is eligible for deduction. And these are for dependent disabled and self-disabled. I mean, if you are physically disabled, then at the point of time, this particular deduction can be availed. And this is for specified medical expenditure. This doesn't include your diabetes, your BP, all these options are not available. Specified medical expenditure in the sense, these are for diseases like cancer, AIDS, and so many other very, very critical diseases, life-threatening diseases. For those kind of diseases, if you have spent money either for you or your family or your parents, I mean your spouse and children or your parents, then you can avail the deduction depending on the nature of disease to the extent of 40,000 to 80,000 rupees. And if you have earned some savings account interest, you can claim 10,000 rupees as deduction. So these are the various other deductions which are usually availed by the people. Now, one question is there in everybody's mind, whether we should go for old scheme of income tax or new scheme of income tax, because government is saying you have two options, you choose the one. I mean, as an employee, I'm confused. Government is saying old scheme and new scheme, which scheme to choose? This slide summarizes the difference between both the schemes. Under new scheme, this is the new scheme proposed by the government last year. Under new scheme, these are the tax rates. If you see, it might appear lower tax rate till 15 lakhs of salary. After 15 lakhs of salary, both the schemes are same. Both the schemes are same. This is the old scheme. This is the old scheme. Today, as of now, you have an option to choose either old scheme or new scheme, and you can keep changing it every time. And you can keep changing it while filing the income tax return as well. For example, in the month of April, I told my employer, sir, I will go with the new scheme. But later I decided to change to old scheme. Nothing wrong. You can keep fluctuating between both the schemes as per your need. And every year you can change the option if you need. Then what is the main difference? See, by looking at this slide, we might assume tax rates under new scheme are lesser when compared to the old scheme. So blindly, let us go to the new scheme is what people will think. But that is absolutely wrong. The reason is under new scheme, no deductions are available. Whatever the deductions which we saw till now, housing loan related deductions, salary structure based deductions, ETC, ATD, whatever deductions which we saw till now, they are not available under new scheme. Under new scheme, you are not eligible to claim them. Only under old scheme, you are eligible to claim them. So that is the reason why under old scheme, tax rate is little higher. Under new scheme, tax rate is little lower. But practically, let us see this particular example. A person has salary of 15 lakhs. A person has salary of 15 lakhs. Under existing scheme, I mean, which is old scheme. In our terms, it is old scheme. He can claim standard deduction of 50,000, but under new scheme, he cannot claim it. He can claim ATC deduction of 1,50,000. Under new scheme, he's not eligible for it. LTA or other chapter, whatever I told you as an example so far, by putting together all those deductions, I'm assuming 1 lakh as additional deduction, food coupon, some other deduction, HRA and all this deduction, 1 lakh. Now, his taxable salary will be 12 lakhs, but under new scheme, his taxable salary will be 15 lakhs. If you apply the tax rates, under old scheme, he will be ending up paying 1,79,000, but under new scheme, he will be ending up paying 1,95,000. What I'm trying to say over here is, new scheme which is launched by the government is purely not practical. Purely not practical. In 99.99% of the cases, old scheme itself will be beneficial. Sir, how do we decide? Like, we don't know what are the provisions, and then we don't know what are the like things which are allowed here, which are not allowed here. How do we decide whether to go for old scheme or new scheme? You don't worry. After this session, we will share a simple Excel calculator to all of you. You can use that Excel calculator, see what is your tax under old scheme, what is your tax under new scheme. Whichever is lower, you can inform your employer that this is the option I am choosing for. So in that particular way, you can decide whether old scheme or new scheme. But even without using calculator, I can say you like this. If your deductions, the sum of all these deductions which you are claiming are more than 2.5 lakhs, if it is more than 2.5 lakhs, directly go for old scheme itself. If it is less than 2.5 lakhs, then you need to use that calculator and all to make a decision whether to go for old scheme or whether to go for new scheme. This is a bonus which I have added. This kind of planning, I mean, this is a planning which I have given for 12 lakhs of salary, 12 lakhs of CTC. I mean, CTC might be higher. I'm saying gross salary of 12 lakhs without any tax. Tax is zero. How can you ensure with the 12 lakhs of salary, zero income tax? You can see over here. Standard deduction available for everybody, irrespective of any investment you make. Food coupons available for you if you receive this money in the form of coupon or like digital wallet, I mean, amount into the digital wallet instead of taking it into your bank account. So this is also possible. I mean, practically it is possible to do that thing. Then third one, telephone and internet reimbursement. Irrespective of whether we are receiving salary or not, we will usually end up spending this amount. Instead, like claim it as a reimbursement and get the deduction. Leave travel deduction. If you are traveling anywhere in India, maybe during the pandemic time, it might be difficult. But in general, if you are traveling anywhere in India, then at that point of along with your family, you can claim deduction of up to 25,000, which is a reasonable amount which a person can spend. Deduction for house rent. I have assumed 15,000 rupees rent per month. So based on that HRA calculator, you can get the deduction as 1,05,000 rupees. The person with 12 lakh salary paying 15,000 rupees rent per month will get 1,05,000 as HRA deduction. Deduction under section ATC, 1,50,000. These are the options which I have shown, like either paying school fees or investing into LIC, Provident Fund, different options. Apart from that, housing loan interest, 2 lakhs. If you have availed housing loan, then at the time 2 lakhs of interest. If you have invested into NPS, National Provident Fund Scheme, 50,000. If you have paid medical insurance, obviously 99% we pay medical insurance nowadays for you and then your parents. And in most of the cases, our parents will be senior citizens once we get into the taxable salary bracket. So I'm assuming it has 75,000 rupees, and totally net taxable income is 4,97,000. If our salary is less than 5 lakhs, it becomes completely non-taxable. So with that particular assumption, the tax is completely zero. But you can ask me, sir, is this possible to practically invest in all these things? Absolutely possible. For a person with 12 lakhs of salary, this is an ideal way to plan their taxes and to create their wealth. So, I mean, it is absolutely possible and practical. We are all following it in our real life scenario. So that's the reason we are recommending. It is not something which is like practically impossible. That is what I wish to iterate over here. So this is the content from our side. Before taking up the questions, what I wanted to inform you is a simple tax calculator will be shared with you after this session. You can use it for your tax planning. And list of components. We discussed various components, right? Along with the detailed conditions, we will share a simple reckoner for you. You can use that reckoner for seeing all those components, and you can decide which components you wish to choose. And if you still have doubts, if you need personalized assistance, then at the time you can reach out to us through these sources. And don't feel that tax is a burdensome. As I told you at the beginning itself, if we are planning the taxes properly, it is not just a planning the tax, it is also planning for wealth creation. So consider both simultaneously. Do it right from the beginning itself. It is not a burden. It is a very simple task which any person can do it. Now the floor is open for questions. I already have some questions which are filled up by you people in the Google form, and I'll also take up the additional questions from this particular chat. See, one question which I got from this particular Google form is, people asked one thing. I am an entrepreneur of a private limited company. I'm a director of a private limited company. How can I plan my taxes and all? All the options which we have discussed so far, the past 40-45 minutes, whatever the options which we have discussed, all those options are available even if you are a director of a private limited company. But apart from that, there are certain ways to plan your tax when you are a director. We will host a separate webinar on it. I mean, since most of the people attending this webinar are employees, so directors related thing cannot be discussed over here, but we will host a separate webinar on it where we'll help you to plan your tax. Then apart from that, this extra 1.5 lakhs is on the first house. Yes, extra 1.5 lakhs deduction is available only if it is a first house, but it is not available for the second house. Please clarify about HRA based on this city. Ignore that particular calculation. I'll say you. See, HRA deduction is calculated in this particular way. You have to take your actual HRA. That is first one. Second one, you have to take your basic salary, rent paid minus 10% of the basic salary. And number three, depending on your city, you need to take 50% of your basic or 40% of your basic. So to avoid all this confusion and all, we have given you a simple HRA calculator where you can just key in 3 terms and then you can get your HRA exemption directly. What is the process to create a PRAN number? Process is like document oriented. I mean, we need to submit our list of documents like Aadhaar, PAN, address proof, voter ID, something of this nature to a banker and inform him to open an NPS account. And I forgot to mention one point. Under NPS, there are 2 types of schemes. One is Tier 1 scheme and the other one is Tier 2 scheme. You will be eligible to claim deduction only if you are investing under Tier 1, either from your side or from employer's side. Both of us should invest only into Tier 1. If we are investing into Tier 2, you can get the return, but that is not eligible for claiming the income tax deduction. For the detailed process, you can contact your banker. All top bankers, HDFC, ICICI, Kotak Mahindra, any banker you name, all top bankers, they are providing these options now. Then TDS, actually, TDS related due dates and all, these are like employer specific. This is from the employer's perspective. So I'll not be able to cover now. We can host a separate webinar for it. I'm limiting this discussion purely for the sake of employees. Can I know if a person is working for a company and also director of another company? So how TDS will be calculated? We need to merge both and then calculate the TDS. However, you can independently inform both the companies that, already I have availed the basic limit in another company. So you consider that basic limit as well and then calculate the tax. For example, the company in which I am the director, since I can control my HR team and everything, I can say them, don't consider my basic limit. already I am under maximum marginal slab, maximum slab. So directly calculate my TDS at that rate. And the other company where you are an employee, you can continue to ask them to deduct normal TDS. So that way you'll be safe. You will not end up paying tax at the end of the year. So there are so many thank you messages which I'm ignoring. Can I know if a person working for a company? Okay. Yeah, if the additional housing loan deduction of 1.5 lakhs is available for you only if the value of property is less than 45 lakhs, but not more than that. Value of the property, not the housing loan. Value of the property should be less than 45 lakhs. Only then you can avail that particular deduction. Then how can we take deduction under 80GG? I think 80GG is relating to the 80GG is again relating to the I think principal contribution for the, additional interest contribution, 1.5 lakhs housing loan, which I have explained during this webinar. Can you help me with another webinar from employer perspective? Yes, we are planning for employer perspective webinar very soon. It will happen somewhere in the first week of July itself, because we received so many questions from employer's perspective. So we want to plan for that webinar very immediately. The company is providing directly on hand salary 25,000. There are no PF, TDS, etc. What is the loss for the employee? What is the profit for the employee? Okay, without deducting TDS, without deducting PF, if company pays 25,000 rupees directly to the employee, nothing like loss and nothing like profit. There won't be any statutory record. See, this option will be available only with small companies, right? And when you tomorrow want to avail some loan or something like that, this payslip cannot be used as a proof, because payslip from a small company cannot be considered as a proof. They usually ask for your income tax return. There won't be anything in your income tax return as well. So that will become a problem over there. But apart from that, there is no loss as such. My doubt. Up to 5 lakhs, if I say there is no tax, whether it is gross income or whether it is take home is what they're asking. By considering gross income, you need to reduce all these deductions which we have discussed over here. And on the net amount is what we can save the tax. Net amount is what we are considering for the tax calculation sake. If net amount is less than 5 lakhs, then at the time, this need not be taxed. It need not be taxed. What proofs need to be submitted for LTA? Travel tickets, let it be air travel ticket or train travel ticket. But again, there are restrictions. Even if you travel by air, they'll consider only the first class, first tier AC fare in a train. So that way, but ideally the proof is travel ticket, which you can submit for the employer. So these are some various questions which we received. But apart from that, whatever the questions which we received during the form, we have if no HRA is deducted. Okay, seafarer, again, there is a separate, yes, seafarer is eligible to claim the HRA deduction if he is not claiming the HRA under 80GG, the 2,000 rupees or 2,500 rupees per month, he is eligible. But apart from that, for seafarer, again, there is a separate notification, which provides you exemption based on your residential status as well, which like beyond the scope of this particular webinar. Yes, you can avail 80GG deduction if HRA component is not there in your company. Yeah. So thank you very much. We will share all the material for this particular, which is displayed in this particular webinar through a link to you over the next 2 to 3 days of time. And if there is any doubt, you can reach out to us at any point of time. Thank you very much for joining this particular session.